Hey, happy Monday. It's
Hey, good
Ashley
morning.
Pardo with the Complete Mortgage Team, and I have Miss Tiffany Pellerin with us today. We're doing things a little different today.
We are. You may hear all kinds of things in the background. I'm actually at a home inspection, so I'm on site out. This is my third appointment of the day. It's 11:50. It's for sure a Monday, but they are doing construction next door. So the guy just, lit up the saw, whatever. I'll just speak loudly.
You'll speak loudly. You're good at that. We talk a lot about lending and real estate on here. That's really all we talk about, right? That's the whole point of the show, I guess is what we'll call it.
Yes, we'll call it
But
a show.
this is sort of like real life, right? It's not a constant 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, we do the same thing. It's super dynamic in our business. We do all kinds of things. So we decided, like, instead of rescheduling because our Monday got really full, we're just going to roll with it. So I appreciate you being so flexible.
Why not? It doesn't hurt that I'm in the prettiest backyard in all of Iberia Parish. So
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we did a little thing last week. I gave you kind of like the scoop this morning that we want to do kind of a series. We want to talk about a few key things that buyers should be mindful of if they want to buy a house.
Sure.
And one of the first things we're going to talk about is the lending process and really the first step, like how to pick your lender.
Right. There's so many different, just like we say, everybody knows 5 real estate agents. Everybody probably knows 2 or 3 people who know somebody, pretty tight who do mortgage loans. But how do you pick the right fit for you? What does that look like?
What does that look like? And how do you sort through the options you have, right?
Yeah.
And I always say that that people buy a home and not a loan, right? Like they want to buy a home. That's where they're going to make memories. That's kind of where they fall in love with things. And they almost always find the real estate agent first.
Very
and
often.
the lender. And I always find that strange in my business that it should be opposite. You should find your lender first, figure out if you're approvable, what does it look like and whatnot instead of backwards. But that's just not how it works for the most part. So we're hopeful that, maybe we'll change that dynamic a little bit and you will pick the right lender. So
what's so tricky about that is you're right. You kind of touched on it, but the realtor really can't help you until we know what the lender has to say about it, right? So it really
unless you're buying cash,
right? But how much of the population?
But not most people do that, and that's always kind of like the first question, right? How do you plan on paying for this home?
Yeah,
then you don't need me. Or if you need financing, then you need to secure your financing options first.
Right.
Yeah. We never want people to fall in love with a home that they can't afford.
Well, look, as a rule, as a realtor, and I coach new agents to do the same. I don't show you a house until I know it's in the right ballpark of a price, because you're right. We could be looking, at Saks Fifth Avenue when we really need to go to JCPenney, or we could be looking at JCPenney when in reality we could be looking at the whole next level, right? So it could go either way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's me and Tiffany could stay here all day and talk. So let's stay on point.
Yeah.
How do you pick your lender? And we talked a lot. I had Natalie on last week and we kind of went through a handful of these things, right? And she mentioned my perfect line, and I didn't coach her on this. She just said it. She said, it takes a team to get this done. And so probably the first thing is how do you develop a relationship with a lender? What are the things that you should be doing or asking or developing? Because you may not know somebody one-on-one that's a mortgage lender, right? You may just, get a referral, maybe from your real estate agent, maybe online, maybe from a friend, but how do you develop a relationship with your lender?
Yeah. And that's important. It's important to note that you spend a lot of time with your realtor, right? You're looking at houses, you're developing what your search parameters are, you're doing all of those things. So you really are spending a lot of more sticky time with your realtor, and you spend significantly less time with your lender, but they're as important to the process, right? So it is important. It's not just, whatever, they push some buttons and they, whatever. It really is as important.
Yeah, so the lending world has changed. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I've been in the financial services business since I was 18, and I've been doing home loans for almost 12 years now. And it has changed a lot over the years, right?
Mhm.
And it gets a little harder every year. There's more documentation that we need every year, it seems. And we get a really intimate view of your financials. So it's creating a relationship that like somebody is digging all the way into your financials with a person you probably never see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it is important to feel comfortable with them and to build a team around it. So when you refer clients to your lender, like what's the most important thing for you?
Well, I think, there's different people. Most people know this. There's different kinds of loans out there. So it's really a matchmaking job, and
Yeah.
we explain this to the people. We're matchmaking the people with the house, but we also have to matchmake the kind of loan that you can get, that you can be approved for, and it also has to match the house, right? Because not all loans can buy all houses.
Yeah.
So there's all of those moving parts as well. And in a twist of real world life, the clients have just arrived. So so I may have people talking to me in just a moment. But I think it's important that we think about it like that, right? You can't just borrow some money and buy the house.
Yeah.
It has to match. Some houses, the condition has to be different, based on what the house and the loan can match and buy. So so there's lots of different things that you can. Hi guys, I'm just doing a little video interview. This is real life, but you feel free. Miss Ronnie's inside, so you can go on and I'll check with you guys in a second. Real life, folks. Happy Monday. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, that's okay. So we were talking about loans, right? Like matching loans to the specific house and whatnot. And I think that's a great kind of segue into my next thing. So I offer a lot of mortgage loans, but there's some that I specialize in. And there are things that are not my specialty. And me and you talk about that a lot. You say, do you offer this program? And I'll say no, or I do, but I don't have a lot of experience in it. And I feel like those clients might not be the best fit for me if they're trying to work with a product that I'm not super experienced in, that I don't do a lot of.
And it's really okay to own the fact that that's not your specialty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because in the end, we're in the business of serving the client. We want to make sure that we're getting them the right house, the right loan type, the right payment, all of those things. Why wouldn't we make sure that they have the right person working the loan? And if it's something you're unfamiliar with, yeah, okay, you can learn on me. But we don't like to, we're not trying to practice on our clients. They need our best, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's great. So like when you're asking your lender, what type of loans do you do? How many loans have you done? It is important to know the difference between a brand new loan officer, who there are some great ones out there, and ask, what's your support system? What is your company good at? What can I expect from you? People call me all the time, and their number one thing is like, what's your rate and what's your fee? And that is probably the last question you should be asking, because we have all about the same rates and all about the same fees. Like nobody's super expensive or cheap, or like it would just blow our competition out of the water, right?
Right. Then we wouldn't have competition if that was the case.
Yeah, like everybody would just go to the cheapest one or whatnot. Like nobody intentionally spends more money. So rates and fees are the last thing. What are you good at? What types of loans have you done before? I'm looking, how do you figure out what loan is best for me? Those are conversation pieces that you should be asking about. If you've done this before and you maybe have an idea about what type of loan you're doing, great. But just like I have clients call me all the time. They're like, I want a rural development loan. But that doesn't dictate to me what kind of loans we're going to offer to them. Maybe rural development is a great loan option, but there are other loans out there. And I don't expect my clients to know the best loan for them. That's my job. Otherwise, I'm just an order taker. You come to the window, you say, I want a number one loan, and I put you in it. But that is not your best option. We really need to look at your entire financial picture, and then we advise.
That's
I don't
right.
really care what kind of loan you get. I get paid the same amount either way.
Yes,
But
but what's the best fit for the person, their
Mhm.
finances, and the home,
Yes.
right?
So ask about your lender's experience in the business, their team's experience in the business, and their company. How long has their company been around? How many loans do you do? What can I expect from you? Those are questions to be asked, right?
Yeah. I do want to go back and just say, like, listen, we're not saying you can't use a new person, right? We all
No.
got to start somewhere. But if I'm doing something new, I'm going to make sure I have a great team behind me. And we want to make sure that, and in this business, when we really are self-employed, right? We don't
Right.
really work for anyone. Even on the mortgage side, we might be partnered with a business, but we're all pretty close to independent contractors for the most part, or a version of that. So asking what kind of team you have, what kind of support system is really important. So aside from rates, prices, fees, what kind of support system do you have? What kind of loans do you do most often?
Yeah.
Right. And then tell me about your, I mean, I want to say track record in a way, right? Tell me about your history. What,
Mhm.
what does that look like?
Yeah, I think that those are some great options. Like I have a brand new loan officer that works for me. We call her a junior loan officer because she's still learning, and that means that like she doesn't get to push any buttons without me reviewing it because I want to make sure that like her clients who are working with her get the same experience as my clients who are working with me after 12 years in the business.
Yes.
And so we don't put anybody in a bad situation. And not every lending company is set up that way. Sometimes it's like you come in, sink or swim, and I don't believe that clients should go with somebody who's in a sink or swim kind of position.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
We can't practice on our people.
Yeah. I also think it's important to realize like what kind of company you're dealing with. So ask about their company and what their values are and what they can expect.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the same reason I'm with Keller Williams, right? I'm with Keller Williams because I align with the values and the mission and, how we conduct business. It's not just I'm with Keller Williams because I like the red writing. It's not it, right? Or I like the fancy office, right?
Yeah.
So those are really important too. And we always tell people, like, we talk about this with new agents a lot of times, like, well, why isn't anybody that I've called said, well, I want to buy a house? Well, because we're not asking them for lunch. We're messing with something a little bit bigger than a cheeseburger order. So we do have to, it is okay to ask the extra questions, and it is okay to wait and make sure you're comfortable with the right person. You can even switch somewhere in the process. I suggest early on, if you don't feel like you're with the right people for you, there is a stage along the way that I say, okay, we're too far in. We're doing this. We're just going to go through.
Figure this out.
But it doesn't mean that we can't have the conversation, and you should have a relationship with your real estate agent where you can trust them to say, if this person isn't right for me, and they're not going to steer you. They're going to put your best interest first.
Yeah, absolutely. We just had a client that we worked together recently who had a friend in the business, and I don't really know what the connection was. I actually didn't know that he had a friend in the business till like closing day.
Yeah.
He never mentioned it along the way, but he decided to work with me. He actually reached out to me before anybody, before you, before he did anything. So he reached out to me for some sort of reason, right? We had a connection. He saw me online. He felt like I would be a really good fit for him and his particular needs. And he had to sell a house that was a little complicated to get sold and really needed somebody to hold his hand, and he really felt connected. And he had a rough time on the sale of his house, and that lender and the relationship his buyer had with that lender wasn't as tight knit. And so it was he got to see, I guess, both sides of it, right?
Sure. And the thing about this is it's a domino effect, right? One wasn't without effect on the other, right? Yeah. So we had a challenging time selling his house because it was a challenging sale. It was going to be from the beginning, but unfortunately what happens then is when you need to sell in order to buy, one affects the other, and you can't do one without the other. So that became, they're intertwined. No matter how separate they might be, they still end up intertwined.
Yeah. So he got to experience a couple of things, and he like gave me a lot of feedback at the end, and so it was great to like learn from that. And that's when he mentioned like, oh, I have a friend, and I was like, why didn't you call your friend? And he was like, he doesn't seem like he's he's not as well versed as you, and I knew I had a complicated thing to sell, and so I just felt like I needed more experience, and I thought, great, I was happy to be a part of it, and it gave me some feedback that most people who are buying and selling, we say this, but sometimes we forget. We do this all day, every day.
Yes.
People don't buy and sell homes every day.
No.
And so I forget that like they do need this kind of information, which is why I'm really trying to get some great information out there for people, because it's okay to say like, I don't know what I'm doing. I bought a house 5 years ago, but I don't know what to do now. And we're really happy to help you go through that process.
Yeah. So just to kind of, let's do a recap, right? We've been talking for 15 minutes about how do you pick your lender. Well, have a conversation, interview them, discuss with them, make sure that that they have experience in what you need, right? Make sure that you do feel connected to them, because not everybody fits everybody. We talk about that a lot too. Like, some people just aren't your people, and it doesn't mean that they're bad people or you're bad people. You just might not fit, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. We also want to talk, I want to touch on this before we say goodbye, because, we said we were going to keep this at 10, and here we are at 16, because we do this well. But communication is really important. And I think it's important to have various ways to get in touch. Not one is always going to be the best for everybody. And you and I had a really candid conversation about this. And I'm just going to toot your horn for a minute, and your team's horn, is that there's a lot of different ways to communicate with y'all that really work for me, and I have found work really well for my clients. I'm like 1 minute out. I gotta go. But we have the app where people can fill in all of their information and upload all of their documents. Lots of people are very tech savvy, and so they can do that. I've got a client, every couple of days I see loaded up her documents, and I'm thinking, oh, that's great. She doesn't even need to wait for anybody to hold her hand. So we've got the app. You have a team line, which I think is really helpful. We talked about that at some point, and you guys put it into play, which is great, because somebody can always get back to you. So it's not a one-woman show, right? There is a support system here. There's a team. The text line is really helpful, I find, because somebody will get back to me, even if you're busy with another client who needs your undivided attention. Of course, then there's the phone and an email, but I think that's another question as well that you should really ask. So
I think it's funny that you mentioned this, because my youngest child, Paran, is buying a house right now, right? And so he sent me a message, and he said, I'm going to apply this morning, and I didn't reply yet. And then he asked a question, and then he asked a question, and he said, oh, never mind, your team has me. Because while I was in a conference this morning, he started his online application, and my team saw his information and started working it while I was.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to him, 45 minutes later,
he was already taking care.
Oh, I got it. I was like, okay, great. He was like, is the MVP going to work my stuff? And I was like, probably not. If you want an answer today on a Monday, I am not the person you want working.
That's right.
Right? If you want me, then it's going to take you a little while longer. And the reason why is because I only work complicated things. And so my team handles 90% of my business, because if you have questions, they have answers. That's what I built my system on. You have questions, they have answers. You have a problem, I will deal with it.
That's right.
So I come in and fix complicated problems or surprises that come up in the real estate world through the process, or beginning or after, it doesn't matter. I'm helping somebody with her bill went up $36 and she wants to know why. So that's one of the things I was working on today. So my team can help people that are flowing and don't have any issues. And then when they have an issue, it comes to my desk, and that's my specialty, is to help those things along. Right. So that's important. When I have a problem, who's going to fix it? And if I don't have a problem, do I have to wait behind all the other problem children? Well, that's a fair question, right?
Yes, totally.
And so we do. We have a team to make sure that everybody's going along quickly and efficiently. And when you got a problem, somebody is putting their eyes on. So
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you being here. I know this was not a great day for you.
We made it work. Everything's fine.
We made it work. You guys always know, like, reach out. I say on Facebook because my team monitors that. I've got a team line. It's 337-267-8511. It's also on my Facebook page. My whole team monitors that. We're happy to help. We're here. We want to put as many people in homes this year as possible. So if you're thinking about it, please reach out. We'll get you hooked up all the way.
Yeah, let me toot the realtor horn. It's a great time to sell your house. So
Yeah.
if you're thinking about it, now's the time. Top dollar for your house to sell. So reach out.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Ashley.
We're thinking about moving. This is the time. Thanks, Tiff. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.